On this channel, we have talked at great lengths about the Honda Civic. I personally think it's one of the best cars money can buy at around $30,000, even below that with the LX and Sport. For 2025, things get even more interesting for this model. Not only do you receive a new exterior refresh, but also a hybrid powertrain under the hood, which helps out with efficiency, and I personally think makes it even more enjoyable to drive on a daily basis. What Honda has done to this platform and chassis for this generation is quite remarkable, because for a small compact car, they're not really the best to own, let's be honest. They're not luxurious, they're not the highest quality cars. But in the 2020s, things have most certainly changed, and Honda is spearheading this segment, giving you a sedan that actually is a car you might want to own and keep for 5, 10, or maybe even 15 years. In today's video, we're going to check out what the hybrid touring has to offer, why this trim is so appealing, why it's very enticing, and also to see why, if you are looking at buying a new sedan this year and you want a car that is efficient, that is somewhat practical, and also gives you a car that is going to be very economical, then maybe taking a look at the new 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Atamian Honda here in Tewksbury, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Honda Civic Hybrid. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Honda inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. For 2025, with the Sport Touring Hybrid, you're looking at a starting cost of just below $32,000. This will be the top of the range for this model year, and if you are looking at buying a Civic with a hybrid powertrain, there's only two trims at least for the sedan, the Sport and the Sport Touring Hybrid. By going with a more affordable option with the Sport, you're saving around $3,000. However, you'll be sacrificing in regards to creature comforts and amenities, even though with that trim, you get dual zone climate control, heated front seats, and a power moonroof. That might be more than enough for a lot of you out there, especially if you have a budget at around $30,000. But I personally think with the Sport Touring Hybrid, this is most certainly worth the price of admission, and I think worth spending an extra $3,000 to receive this car. However, regardless of whatever trim you choose for 2025, whether it's the LX or Sport Touring Hybrid, one of the talking points here for this model year is the fact that they've resculpted the front fascia. And by doing so, they're doubling down on the fact that this car is targeting a younger consumer demographic. And even in Honda's press releases, they've been boasting the fact that they are popular with Gen Z, and I think they're going to be even more popular with them for 2025. So up front, you are going to notice that you are going to have honeycomb mesh grills, which from far away makes this sedan look like an SI. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all, and I don't think it's a mistake either, because what you have here now with the Civic is a car that does look aggressive, dynamic, and sporty, and that's exactly what this car is, even in hybrid form. We're going to find that out later on during the test drive, but this car is far from being lethargic and not enjoyable to drive. Now, Honda also resculpted the LED headlights, so it gives this car more of an upscale appearance. And then for the lower portion of the front bumper, you have more aggressive body lines, which again is going to be found on an SI or Type R. So Honda's doing wonders with this sedan, and from far away, it looks really nice. It looks menacing the further you walk away from it. So Honda's done a fantastic job here with their mid-cycle refresh. Then taking a look at the side profile, you are going to receive 18-inch alloy wheels that is unique to this trim. So with the Sport Hybrid, you have the same gloss black wheels that's found on the Sport non-hybrid model. And I do think that with these 18s, it goes very well with our paint color today, but also makes the sedan look less sporty and younger, and should appeal to an older consumer demographic as well. You'll still receive the gloss black side mirror caps that will be found on the Sport with turn signal indicators, and better yet, you will have blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, the changes are very minimal here, with tinted taillights, which gives this car a lower profile appearance and should do very well with younger buyers. I know they love having those tinted out taillights. Also, you're going to notice the nice little decklet spoiler there that molds into the body lines. I love that touch on the Civic. It gives this car a sportier appearance even in hybrid form. And then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, this is the giveaway that it is a hybrid trim. They're giving you color match garnish. It's not really a rear diffuser at all, but it is a nice classy touch. It just ties everything in together and really helps out with the cladding that you're going to find there for that bumper. Now, of course, the exhaust outlet is tucked beneath the bumper. You can still see it from certain angles, but I fully understand why Honda's doing that to give this rear fascia a cleaner appearance. Taking a peek under the hood for the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid, you are going to receive a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine and 2 electric motors to produce a total of 200 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque. And with this being a hybrid powertrain, it will be paired with an eCVT, making this the most powerful Honda Civic ever made not wearing a Type R badge. So not only is it going to be efficient and practical, but it's also going to be powerful. And that is what's going to make this car, I think, a great hit with a lot of buyers of all ages. But it goes far deeper than what you have here in regards to performance, because for fuel economy, you're looking at right around 50 miles per gallon in the city and 47 miles per gallon on the highway, making this one heck of an economical choice in this market. So if you are somebody who likes to have a lot of power at your disposal, but you also don't want to miss out on the fuel efficiency and saving at the pump, you're gonna love what you have here with the hybrid trims for 2025. Hopping inside the Sport Touring Hybrid for 2025, you are going to receive power adjustable and heated leather seats for both the driver and passenger. I am a bit surprised though that the driver's side doesn't have memory seat functionality. I would expect that for a top trim for 2025, but that is such a minor feature, I'm not going to make a big deal about that. With these seats though, they're plush, they're supportive, and they're very comfortable. In fact, I've already gone on the test drive, and I really didn't want to stop driving this car because it is so smooth, it is so refined, and these seats really help out with all of that. Now, they're not aggressively bolstered, but I do think that on a winding back road, you won't be swinging around too much at all. So it's not going to be like a Civic Si experience, and just keep in mind that even though it does have the Sport badge in the title, it's not going to be a sports car, but it's still going to give you the refinement and quality that you are looking for, just over $30,000. For me, though, what I really love about the Civic for 2025 is that Honda didn't change anything for the driving environment. Now, even though the exterior has been refreshed, none of that really translates to the interior outside the infotainment system, which we'll talk about in a minute. So in front of you will be a leather-wrapped steering wheel, which feels really nice in the hands, and behind the steering wheel will be paddle shifters, not to upshift or downshift, but to adjust the regen braking. And there'll be 4 different modes to choose from, with the strongest setting feeling more like an EV. It won't be a one-pedal drive, but I think a lot of you who are very acclimated with hybrids are going to like what you have here with that regen braking. In front of you will be a full digital gauge cluster with a touring. And since we have gone over this numerous times on the channel, I'm not going to bore you here with the layout. I do like the fact that this digital gauge cluster is high quality. The resolution is definitely on par with other vehicles in this market. And better yet, it is intuitive. So by using the dials on both sides of the steering wheel, you can scroll through a variety of information, customize the layout, and also showcase information that is relevant to you. So the left dial will control pretty much your radio settings. So you can scroll through your phone, FM, AM, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and of course, Amazon Alexa. But the right dial controls most of your driver info, such as your average fuel economy, remaining fuel range, then of course your navigation system, driver safety. So if you are not paying attention to the road, the Civic will notify you on that. Your seatbelt reminder, then your maintenance and oil life, so you'll know when to go in to get your oil change. Then your safety and support system, so as we've seen numerous times in the Honda lineup, you can turn on or off your long list of safety features, such as road departure mitigation, blind spot information system, your low speed braking control, parking sensors, and your collision mitigation braking system. I would leave all these on for added assurance and peace of mind when you are driving on a weekday basis. Then before we check out the infotainment system, let's talk about the rest of the interior quickly. I love the layout of the Civic. Very classy, very upscale, not typically found in a car at around $30,000. But I love the fact that they retained the physical dials and buttons for the dual zone climate control, heated front seats, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. That just goes a long way. So many manufacturers are moving away from physical buttons and dials. I love the fact that Honda is sticking to a traditional and tactile layout here. Then for the center console itself, you are going to notice your gear selector, but better yet, it's not flanked by gloss black trim. I know a lot of you will appreciate that because you comment in all my videos saying, why do manufacturers give us this trim that's not easy to clean? It scratches easy, it looks tacky and cheap. Well, Honda spared you the trouble here. Now there is a weave pattern which feels very interesting when you do touch the center console, but this will be easier to maintain when you do own this car for years to come. Then for the drive mode selector, you'll have Sport, Normal, and Eco, but by going with the Touring, there will be individual mode. So you can change up the driving experience to your liking, you can adjust the powertrain, steering, engine sound, and gauge cluster, and this is all going to be up to your discretion. So if you're somebody who felt that you didn't want to be in sport mode all the time, but you wanted the benefits of having the powertrain be more aggressive and responsive, you can have all of that and still have the steering be normal and the engine sound to be normal. So I love to see that in these cars, especially for a mainstream manufacturer. This is typically only found in luxury cars. So nice touch here from Honda. You're also going to notice your electronic parking brake and auto vehicle hold. And then for the standard storage compartment, there's plenty of room for smaller items, which I think you could probably store a couple small water bottles, maybe some smartphones and other smaller gadgets. And then to round out the front seating area, above will be a power moonroof, which will bring in a lot of natural light to the interior. Lastly, but most importantly, with the Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid is this 9-inch touchscreen, and brand new to the Civic is Google built-in software for Google Maps and the Google Assistant. So you are going to have a lot of intuitiveness here with this screen, which I know a lot of Zoomers and younger millennials are definitely going to love. If I was to compare this to what you have with Toyota, I think this is a better layout because you actually have a home screen and widgets and icons. So with Toyota, it's a bit more trimmed down. Also, I think a lot of you are going to like the fact that you will have physical buttons and a dial for the volume and tuning than the home and back buttons. I think a lot of you are definitely going to like having some analog features here for this head unit. Next to that, though, will be quick access icons for your Google Maps, your FM, your Apple CarPlay. Then you can adjust the brightness of this screen. And then at the top of the screen will be what activates your Google Assistant, which we're not going to do today. As always, with any Honda product, you will have a multi-angle rear backup camera with trajectory, helping you back out of tight spots in a garage or when you are parking on city streets. You'll have 3 different angles to choose from: your standard view, then a 180-degree view for more visibility, and then for me, I call this the bumper cam. So that way, when you are on those city streets and there's a car parked directly behind you, you won't be backing into that car. Then for passengers in the back for 2025, nothing has changed here for the interior dimensions. So, as I have felt in the past with this car, you can squeeze in taller passengers in the second row. Obviously, this is not going to be the optimal choice if you have a family. You might want to go with the CR-V or HR-V for that. This car doesn't feel cramped or claustrophobic, even though it is a small sedan. I adjusted the seat in front of me most of the way back. It's also somewhat on a recline. And I have a few inches of legroom to work with here, so not too bad at all. Obviously, though, with the Civic being a sedan, you have that lower roof line, so I do think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. Shoulder room isn't too bad. Legroom is more than adequate for a car in this market, and also, of course, with this being a Touring, the leather upholstery does feel rather nice, and there is some bolstering here, which is pretty impressive to see in a car in this market. However, what isn't impressive is the fact you don't get 2 center-mounted air vents or USB-C or USB-A outlet. I am a bit surprised by that for a car at around $32,000, even though in this market it's not too common. So that's not too much of an issue, but I am a bit surprised by that though. However, you will receive a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Then as we make our way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area, you are going to receive right around 13 cubic feet of room behind the second row seats, which does fall right in line with its closest rivals in this market. But if practicality is a top priority, you're going to want to go with the hatchback, which also receives a hybrid powertrain for 2025. I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So I have 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. And there's still more room to stack on even more items. So I think if you are going on a road trip with the family, you could probably fit 6 or 7 bags of luggage back here with no issues. Also, this cargo area is deceptively wide. There are some side pockets here where you can store some longer items. Obviously, you can lower the second row seats to maximize their cargo capacity. But again, I think if practicality is what you really need, you're going to want to go with that hatchback. So as we set off on this test drive, let's put a few things into perspective here. One, this is the most powerful Honda Civic ever made, not wearing a Type R badge. And the fact that it is a hybrid, giving you some impeccable fuel economy. And that might not even be the main highlight. I have talked very highly about this generation Honda Civic. I think it's the best small car you can buy right now in the automotive industry below $35,000. The hybrid powertrain just adds on to all of that, giving you more incentives to purchase this car that I just think is an all-around great daily driver. The steering is very communicative. Also, I love the suspension, even though this isn't even an SI. The interior quality is top-notch. And when you're comparing it to its closest rival, the Toyota Corolla, even though the Corolla does come in at a lower price for the hybrid, it's an older generation. It's going to feel a little older and archaic. The Honda Civic for 2025, to me, is something special as a commuter car. For one, you get the fuel efficiency, you get the refinement, you get the quality, but now you have the performance. In the past, even last year and the year before, yes, the 1.5 was a better choice over the 2-liter, but you didn't have the torque to give you an exhilarating driving experience. We now have that here with the hybrid trims. As I get back on the highway and entering into these corners, I love the firm weighted feel of the steering. It feels like a sports sedan. And for a car that is supposed to be just economical and fuel efficient, this is a lot more than you can ask for at $30,000. So in sport mode, let's get on the highway. Wow, it puts the power down really well. There is no lack of torque, and you can easily pass slower drivers. This is incredible. With the ECVT, it mimics an automatic transmission quite well, and this is far better than the CVT found in the LX and the Sport. And this right here is why hybrid powertrains really should be the future, or maybe the present, because not only do you get better fuel economy, but you also get better performance. Having the dual electric motors with the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine does wonders to this car. As I've talked about quite a bit with Honda throughout the last few years, is that they're really incentivizing you to go in the hybrid direction. And I feel that stronger now than in the past with the Honda Civic, because not only do you get a car that I think is better engineered for 2025, I also think that when you're taking a look at the features that you're receiving here, this is a far better value. Now, I also do think, though, that the Touring is better than the Sport Hybrid, mostly because of the infotainment system. I love the fact that with the Google-based software here, this feels like a luxury car, which, again, you would have never said about the Honda Civic in the past. As I pointed out earlier on in this video, Honda's priding themselves on the fact that the Civic has been very successful with the Zoomers. And by giving you a car that doesn't feel lethargic, slow, it has a decent amount of maneuverability. I'm not going to say it feels like a Civic Si, but to have everything under one roof and to be economical and not be boring is something that currently Toyota doesn't have with the Corolla. They have it with the Camry. They don't have it with the Corolla. And that, to me, is what makes the Civic even more formidable in this segment. So since we're on some back roads here, let's place it in normal in the suburbs. And one thing I do notice is that it does quiet down a bit. It doesn't feel as on edge. Star response does soften. But for me, what I am blown away by is just how smooth it drives. And I've said before that with this generation, with this chassis and platform, Honda has created a car that doesn't feel like it's $30,000. And with the LX and Sport, I think it does. That's where you're like, yeah, I'm definitely spending $25,000. Although I do think that even with the 2-liter, the non-hybrid, it does perform quite well. I think you are receiving quite a bit at around $25,000, $26,000. But the hybrid trims just go one step further. And I do think that if you want a car that I think is providing a lot more value, you have to go with the sport hybrid at the very least. You still get the sporty aesthetics, but you're also getting a car that's suited for a more mature buyer too. Suspension-wise, going over the bumps and imperfections, it handles them quite well. Obviously, with the 18s, that does play a factor in the ride quality, but again, it doesn't really translate to the interior. So what you have here is a car that is very engaging and enjoyable to drive as a daily driver. And in the past, you would look at these cars as being econo boxes or just efficient. And yeah, they lasted a long time. Honda's reliability is impeccable, but they were nothing more than that. This generation changed everything, where you have a car that you could keep for 5-10 years and still enjoy driving. On top of that, you get a car that's most certainly efficient. So in the middle 2020s, you're getting a car that just kind of checks off all the boxes. All in all, I think the hybrid powertrain was the missing piece of the puzzle, if there ever was a missing piece for this generation. I loved the 1.5 last year. I don't mind the 2-liter in the LX and Sport, although you do miss out on the performance and also the creature comforts. But with the hybrid powertrain, you get the performance. 200 horsepower, 232 pound-feet of torque. This ECVT mimics gear shifts quite well. It's a very smooth car. I think you'll definitely enjoy driving it on a daily basis. I also love the fact that with the electric motors, there is a bit more weight to this car, so it helps out with the handling and the suspension feel. There's a lot more of a communication between you and the car, so that gives you a lot of feedback, relatively speaking, for a sedan in this market and in the 2020s. I also think that even though this car is over $30,000, it is one heck of a value. And while some people will say, who have been a subscriber to my channel for a while, thinking, you know what, you are being unfair to the rivals, I personally don't think so. Because this generation gives you something that you're not going to find elsewhere. With the hybrid powertrain, it's fun to drive, it's economical, also it's very high quality and feels luxurious. I don't think you'll find all of that in the competitors, whether it is the Corolla or the Elantra. This is a special car that in the 2020s, everyone buys a crossover. You don't need to. If you don't need the practicality, you don't need the interior space, the Civic is really all you could ask for. Now, I would love to see this powertrain be dropped into the HR-V. I think then the HR-V is not only a great choice at around $30,000, $35,000 if they were to drop in the hybrid, I would then say it's probably one of the best subcompact crossovers in its market. But for the time being, if you do need practicality, go with the hatchback. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.